If you are wanting, if your plan was to participate in this webinar, make a plan, build a kit, prepare your family for disaster, you are in the right spot. So thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sarah Krymans, and my picture is on the lower left-hand side, and I'm an extension educator located out of our Morris regional office. And with me today is Lori Hendrickson, also one of our family development educators in the bottom middle, and then Carrie Olson, who is one of our youth development educators. Also with us today is Camden Larson. And Camden, I'm going to have you go ahead, unmute yourself and do a little introduction about yourself.
My name's Camden Larson. I'm across the river where I live over here in North Dakota. I work with the FEMA National Preparedness Division out of Region 8, which is based in Colorado, and I'm just super excited to be here tonight.
And we're so pleased to have you, Camden. You also see on the upper right-hand side of the slide, their corner of the slide, is Ryan Saminsky, and he is Camden's counterpart, but here in Minnesota with the FEMA Youth Preparedness Council in Region 5. And Ryan has helped us develop the presentation today and several pieces of that, and he may be jumping on to join us as well. So that's our team today. So I'm going to bring up a poll. I'm going to launch that. And if you can take a moment and share, why are you participating today? For personal use, for professional use, or for both personal and professional use? We'll let folks respond there for just a minute. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. So we have the majority of folks, 70% of you are participating today for personal use. So that's wonderful. But about 30% of you are participating for both personal and professional use. So that's good to know. And we know typically those boundaries can be kind of blurry at times between personal and professional use, and we can use the information in both areas. So thank you, everyone. So today we are going to learn how to prepare for a disaster by creating an emergency kit. And we're going to look at how to prepare for a disaster by making a family plan. And then we're going to talk about how to share that content with others. And so we're going to move to the Kahoot activity, and Camden is going to lead us on this, and wonderful. Look at that. I so admire technology skills. I'm going to mute myself, Camden, and I'm going to let you take over here.
Okay, so for those of you who have a separate device, you can go ahead and join the game by visiting on a computer kahoot.it or visiting the Kahoot app, should you have that installed on your phone. Otherwise, feel free just to follow along on the screen and select your answer choice as we go along, and we'll be talking about each answer after we're finished with the question. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with the game. A question is going to appear on the screen with some answer choices appearing with a specific color and shape. You will then select your answer choice on your screen, which is all you'll see in the app or on the website. And once everyone's answered, it'll go back to the question and show us the correct answer. So we'll go ahead and get started. So what percentage of Americans do not have a designated meeting place when disaster strikes? Okay, so it looks like the majority of us got the question correct. Recent polling data has suggested that 63% of Americans do not have a designated meetup place for when disaster strikes. Move on to question 2. What is the percentage of cell phone users who do not know their immediate family's phone numbers? Again, it looks like the majority of us got it correct. 48% of cell phone users do not know their immediate family's phone numbers, which is definitely going to be something that's important in an emergency, especially if you have to utilize a phone that is not your personal phone. Question 3, how many Americans live near a volcano? So 770,000 Americans live near volcanoes, which is going to impact what we're looking at preparing for. So in the Minnesota area, for example, we don't live near volcanoes. So we're looking at disasters more related to our local area, the biggest being straight line winds just in numbers over the past few years. True or false? Batteries last 10 times longer in LED flashlights. The correct answer is true. LED flashlights are more efficient than standard light bulb based flashlights. And so the batteries are going to last for a significantly longer time frame. Over 1/2 the victims of both Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Sandy were senior citizens over the age of 65. True. And one reason that we included this statistic today is just kind of when we're thinking about preparing as a family, we want to make sure that we're preparing for everyone in the family as well. And so making sure that grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, aunt, uncles, and everyone in between is included in your family emergency plan. How long should the food and water in your evacuation kit be able to sustain your family for? Current recommendations suggest 3 days. However, the new federal recommendations also suggest that you should maintain at least 1 month's full of non-perishable food supply and water at your place of living. Next question, how much water does each person need per day? The current recommendation is 2 gallons per day. Something else to consider is not only does each person need this, but each pet needs this as well, making sure we're including pets in our families while we're preparing for emergencies. What other individual needs should you consider when packing your emergency kit? Awesome. It looks like we were all able to get an answer choice here, and all of the above is going to be the correct answer. Again, we want to be thinking about what individuals and members of our families might need additional items to be included in our emergency kits and make sure that we have those in there as well. The next one's true or false. Store-bought food such as canned food only has a 6-month shelf life. So as a general guideline, this is true. We don't want to be including cans that do not have dates on them past that 6-month window. And we do want to be refurbishing those emergency kits. However, many cans will last longer. You just want to make sure that you're reading the expiration date on the bottom of those. Just keeping bottled water at home is enough. False. That's a great recommendation. Making sure that we have a designated emergency supply of water, and also for sheltering in place and conditions are safe, filling other containers we may have as well before disasters strike. True or false? As recently as 30 years ago, many people believed that animals knew how to take care of themselves in a disaster. True. Our mindset on pet preparedness is shifting a lot, and we're really working hard to making sure that they're included in our family emergency plans. When is National Preparedness Month? National Preparedness Month is in September every year. FEMA also sponsors National Financial Capability Month, which is happening next month in April. And last question, which federal agency is responsible for preparing America for emergencies and disasters? FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, does take the lead on preparing Americans before, during, and after disasters.
Great. Thank you so much, Camden. All of those questions helped us think a little bit about developing a plan. And I wanted to cover just a few more thoughts when we're thinking about developing that plan. So when emergencies strike, public officials, public safety officials, let us know about that in a variety of ways. A few spots that we should be tuning into or locating are the wireless emergency alert, the emergency alert system, or EAS, and then the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration weather radio, all hazards, or NWR, is another spot where they let us know. Yes, and the radio, the TV, the sirens, right? So they let us know. And so paying attention to that is really important. So having a plan about where to shelter for various disasters is super important, right? As we develop our family plans. And so if there were a tornado or a severe weather event, where would you shelter with your family? Go ahead. All right, so the basement bathroom, a crawl space, definitely basement behind a wall, away from windows, unfinished portion of the basement, southwest corner, right? A safe room. And we're pretty fortunate up here in the Midwest that most of our homes, many of our homes have basements. Although there are some construction or some homes that are built on slabs. And so then I saw many people were talking about rooms without windows, interior rooms, oftentimes bathrooms as well. Our daughter and her family live in Arkansas right now, and she called the other night and said, we're in a tornado. I think it was a watch, not a warning. And their house is built on a slab, so no basements in Arkansas. And so we talked a little bit about that. So yes, the rooms with no windows, maybe putting the kids in the bathroom or in the bathtub with a few blankets might be a good thing. Excellent. Creating a family communication plan is important, right? And the term itself, communication, means that we need to be talking with one another. And one of Camden's poll questions, or one of his Kahoot questions, asked about phone numbers, right? And so it's really important for us to be able to memorize some of those phone numbers. I think I know I get really lazy. It's programmed into my smartphone, and I don't know if I can recite everyone's phone numbers in my immediate family. And so we really need to be thinking about that. But in addition to knowing those phone numbers, I encourage families to play the what if game. What if we have a tornado? What if I'm at school and you're at work? What do we do? What if we have a flood? What if, and you fill in the blank based on your community and your area and what hazards you might expect. And so I challenge all of you families that are participating tonight to have conversations. What if this, what if that? And use time at the dinner table, or use time as you're commuting or driving to work or school to have those conversations. All right, we are going to move on to the section of our presentation where we're thinking about putting the kits together. And I'm going to call on Camden again because he does such a great job with this. Camden.
So we've got a really cool opportunity tonight. I have some friends who need help preparing, and it just so happens that they live on a pirate ship. And so we are going to help them get prepared using some items that we might have around our house and dwellings and other places that we should have with us in case of an emergency. So the fun part is, just like any good treasure hunt, I'm going to have some clues, and we're going to find some items that help us address the clues. So we'll move on to our first clue. So pirates can get hungry in an emergency. Can you find something they could eat? We can either go find some items, and that'll help us assemble an emergency kit to have at home, or we can just put the items in the chat too so we can see what other people might be thinking about.
No, we have somebody that says a can of beans. We have tuna in packets, protein bars, and dried fruit. Boiling water and catch some fish and eat them. Canned food, Spam, bottled water, MREs, cans of veggies, can of corn.
And I love that we included the can opener too for the food. That's really important that we have a way that we can utilize what we brought with us. So yeah, we're looking to have any sort of food. And again, we want to make sure that when we're on the go, such as in our vehicles or in cars, we've got enough food to last 72 hours. Otherwise, at home or where we live, we want to make sure that we are working towards building a month worth of food reserves to have in case of emergencies. Awesome. I'm seeing some granola bars too. Those are actually one of my favorite kinds of granola bars. So we'll move on to clue number 2.
Great. And before I flip to clue number 2, I wanted to comment on the MREs again. So those that are not familiar with that, they are the military's meals ready to eat. And so if you have any military folks in your family, those are so great to throw in your car to have in your emergency kit. And they last a long time and have a high calorie count.
So our pirates do live up here near the boundary waters, and so it does get cold at night. Can you find something that might help them stay warm?
Oh, we're having sleeping bags and blankets, sweaters, some more blankets, jackets, hat and mittens. Could use those today too. Those little hot packs for your hands, hand warmers, okay. Little buddy heater, if you have electricity, I hope.
And
fire starters.
Does the little buddy heater, Sam, does that run on propane? Tell us a little more about the little buddy heater and needing to be concerned about ventilation as well with that.
It's propane, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of great ideas there. And just something to think about is, at least for me, I always would rather be much warmer than very cold. It's a lot easier to cool down than it is to heat up, especially when it gets cold. So all of the things that I've been seeing in the chat are really great ideas and can also be used for a variety of things, such as the sweater can also be used as a change of clothes. We'll move on to clue number 3. Pirates can get thirsty. Can you find something that they might be able to keep some water in?
We have plastic bottles, thermos. They might need to boil salt water. Since they're pirates, an empty rum jug, you said. Empty cleaned out milk jug, a barrel, a cooler.
Awesome. So all of these are great ideas. I'm just going to talk quickly about the bathtub, sink, and bowls. Just making sure that our water is either already potable, meaning that it's safe to drink, or otherwise having an item in our kit. Personally, I keep a product called MicroPure. It's tablets that help purify water in the event that it's not safe to drink just right out of the tap. Otherwise, I'm seeing a lot of great ideas here. We've got anything from bottles to buckets to barrels. One other thing I would think about is Ziploc bags can be used for a variety of things and also can hold water. if you need it. So just another thing that we can use there. We can move on to clue number 4.
Well, and Camden, I was thinking to this question, clue 3 referred to drinkable water, but there are times when the water is obviously not running in our house and we still may want to be able to flush the toilet. And so perhaps being able to use some of that water in the bathtub to fill the toilet tank so we can flush is also a good idea. All right, let's go to clue 4. Oops, I went to 5. There's 4.
Just like us, pirates also wear masks to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Can you find a mask that we can put in our emergency bag? We've got used the flag and the sail for a mask, certainly an alternative if we don't have a classic one available. Awesome. That sounds great. Just again, something to keep in mind, a lot of shelters have been requiring the use of masks as we've looked at our past emergency season. The various authorities that are running the shelters do work to provide them. However, you can help keep your community's resources available longer if you can provide your own as well. We'll move on to the 5th and final clue. Pirates work as a team in emergencies, but they always make sure to have a plan. Can you find your family's emergency plan? And if you don't have one yet, we're going to work through some strategies and some resources that are available to help you build one. So perhaps this is an item that you'll be able to add after tonight's webinar as well.
Now I'm going to pass it on to Carrie, who's going to be covering this next section.
All right. Preparedness is important to the resiliency of any community. While you sharpened your skills tonight on being prepared for some disaster topics and areas, can you think of ways that you might want to share this information out with others? Maybe there's just other family members that you want to share with, but maybe that's a broader community like your church, your school, or your community clubs that you might be involved in. We really encourage youth and adults to work together to support preparedness in their communities. And community service projects are often parts of school, parts of 4-H clubs, church groups, and community groups. And so we have a few resources we wanted to share with you tonight. The Minnesota 4-H State Ambassadors are launching actually a service campaign for the month of April. And we'll put their link to a document they have out in the chat box. But in that, they talk about 4 different types of service. There's direct service, where you might actually do something that benefits people directly, such as tutoring. Maybe it's providing resources, providing the family plan, communication plan documents out to people. Then there's ideas of doing indirect service. That's where you provide an active service, but you don't directly work with those who may benefit. So you might be helping provide supplies for emergency kits that people might go and pick up, but you don't actually work with those people. Or you might help a group or a facility come up with a plan of what to do in a disaster. Then other types of service include advocacy. That's where you inform the community about needs. So maybe there's some PSAs or news articles that you'd want to write. And then research is when you gather information just to benefit a whole community or a public interest. And so if you want to explore some of those ideas a little bit more, I encourage you to do that. And just remember, service projects could range from, talking to your neighbor, talking to your other family members, or even hosting a booth at an event to distribute supplies. All right, we're also going to look at some other resources available, both for you and others. Let's see, so if we go to the next slide, there we go. Our webinar resources, we do have a document that you'll get in the post-webinar that gives you some different resources. And one of them that we wanted to point out is this family communication plan. You can get it both as a full page document or as a foldable card that you can put really handily in your purse or in your, I have one in my glove compartment of my car there. That's what we call that little drawer. This is an important place to record information about your family and how to communicate with each other. If you're not all together when a disaster hits, or even if you are, so that when you've left your house, you know where information is and different information that'll be important, especially around finances and health. And you can find these items at ready.gov as well, but there'll be a direct link in that post-webinar resource document. And then on our next one, if you decide to further preparedness efforts in your community, there's many things for you to consider. There's a youth preparedness program implementation guidebook and a checklist that we've included on that resource document. And here's one of the direct links. I should have made it a Z link. I apologize for that, but you'll get it in the document, or if you go to ready.gov, you'll be able to find it there as well. But one of the most important things when you do think about looking at your community is figuring out what are the risks that my community faces, or the group of people that I live with, that I work with, that I'm sharing this information with might face with. And then from there, identify what are your short and long-term goals, and how will you go forward and help the community know about those risks and hazards. Maybe there's oftentimes community partners in your community that are tasked with doing emergency preparedness. And so there's an awesome checklist on this implementation guide that I'd encourage you to check out. Also, we mentioned a little bit earlier, but there are a variety of free educational resources for all types of age groups. There are all different age groups available at that ready.gov. And so I'll encourage you to go there as well. If you decide you want to launch a whole big program, there are curriculum that have different activities all lined out already for a variety of age-appropriate activities for both youth and adults. And so some of those include the Student Tools for Emergency Planning, or kind of known as STEP. There's also a Teens CERT program. It's Teens Community Emergency Response Teams. And then there's 911 for Kids and the Red Cross, as well as FEMA and Eden have a variety of resources that you could access.
Thank you for sharing those resources, Carrie. And so we encourage you to not only share and discuss this information within your family, but if you have an opportunity to share it with your broader community, definitely do that. Carrie had mentioned perhaps your place of worship, or a youth group, or with extended family. Definitely check those things out. And we just cannot say enough about the ready.gov website and all of the resources that are available there. Camden, did you want to highlight any resources? I know the Pedro resource is one of FEMA's most popular.
Yeah, I'd just like to throw out there that, again, those are free, and they're also, for the most part, available in both English, Spanish, traditional and simplified Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean as well. So we really are trying to reach a broad audience there. Anyone can order them, and we'll ship them free to your house.
And can folks order just one copy, or can they get those in bulk if they wanted to share them, for example, with their 4-H group or their Boy Scout or Girl Scout group?
We do have some limits that are in place, and the system may reject your order. If that happens, feel free just to send me an email, and I'll work with the person that works with the government publishing office in your area, and we can work to identify a way to get around that.
Excellent, excellent. Can you speak about the Pedro resource and just describe that one a little bit?
Yeah, so the program that is being talked about is Prepare with Pedro. It's a program that FEMA and the American Red Cross work together to develop. It's meant for kids aged kindergarten through 2nd grade, and it's an all-encompassing preparedness workbook that uses activities to kind of bring preparedness as more of a forward thought when we're entering environments, in different ways that we can prepare for disasters. On top of that, it does feature a lot of fun activities and pages that both engage your family as well as the children who are directly participating with the workbook.
Great. Thank you, Camden. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating.